And a happy Tuesday to you, and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. We'll start the show off by taking you live to the White House, where President Trump now holding a bilateral press conference with Philippine President Marcos. Trade will likely be the discussion for the two leaders when they break for lunch in just a minute. However, right now, President Trump taking questions from the press. Let's go ahead and take a listen in.
Defense program, which is to allow us to be self-reliant and to be able to stand our own 2 feet, whatever the circumstances that occur in the future. And that the reason that we have encouraged more interaction with the United States is because it is necessary. And it is not just with the United States. It is with all our neighboring countries and even countries as far afield as the Scandinavian countries, the EU. And so this is an ongoing process. And again, I will stress the point that we do this because we feel it is necessary.
And don't forget, just as tantamount to what you're asking, the Philippines were loaded up with ISIS and a lot of terrorists, and they were at very, very dangerous point. And during my administration, we went in and we wiped them out, working with the Philippines, but we wiped them out. But if we didn't go in, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know who would be your president right now. But we spent a lot of time and a lot of talent on going into the Philippines and wiping out terrorists. They had a tremendous problem during my administration. And we cleaned it up, we got them out, and now you really have a good, solid country again.
I believe so, yes.
How can you make Mr.
President, I want to follow up on the housing question.
Yeah.
We've got no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. How important is it we have no tax on home sales, capital gains, to unleash the housing market in this country?
Well, we're thinking about that, but would also unleash it just by lowering the interest rates. If the Fed would lower the rates, we wouldn't even have to do that. But we are thinking about no tax on capital gains on houses. And I'm very impressed that you asked that question because nobody knew that.
Well,
how did you find that out? That's very.
I wonder why there's somebody I'm very close to.
There's a leaker. There's a leaker.
I've also got a question. I find it a very interesting world that we know more about two people at a Coldplay concert just hours after that viral video than we know of Thomas Crooks 1 year after attempting to assassinate you. What is holding back the investigation on Thomas Crooks?
Well, they've reported to me and they've told me things, and they really say they haven't found anything that was abnormal. I would say this: the Secret Service was very brave because they were right there and they jumped on me. They made a mistake. They should have had somebody on that roof, and they should have had communication with the local police, who also, they did a very good job, but they made some mistakes, and we have a whole different group of people now. I don't think anything can happen, but I think we have the best people anywhere in the world right now, and I think they've learned. And they went into him very, in great detail. They gave me the whole thing, and what can I do? They say that it was just a nut job that was looking to do this, and I spoke with the FBI, the new FBI. I spoke to the FBI. If it was the old FBI, I wouldn't have believed a thing they said, because the old FBI under Comey was crooked as hell. He was one of the most crooked. Everybody should read the Horowitz report. Unfortunately, Bill Barr didn't use it. But the Horowitz report, not appointed by me, it was a report on Comey and the FBI. It is one of the worst shots at a human being I think I've ever seen. In fact, the New York Times did an editorial that was one of the worst editorials I've ever seen about anybody. That was about Comey. You ought to go back and get, and Barr didn't use it because he didn't have the guts to use it, or something happened. I don't know. Too bad. He went to Mr. Durham instead of doing the Durham. All they had to use is the Horowitz report, and I always felt badly for Horowitz, frankly, because he's a Democrat, I guess. He was appointed by a Democrat, but that report has gotten lost, and it shouldn't be lost. You should all go back. It should be mandatory reading. Go back and read the Horowitz report on Comey and his cronies. And you'll see exactly, we're going to add that to all the stuff that we found. It just confirms it. But what we found is even more so. Now, we found this isn't like evidence, this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup. And it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was this one. No, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country. And it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president. We have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens. Everybody. Who doesn't sign? You're the president of a country. But it's all that whole thing leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. They were signing documents that he knew nothing about. As an example, they released the Unselect Committee of Liability. The Unselect Committee spent 2 years grilling everybody, and then they destroyed all the evidence. You know why? Because the evidence made them guilty, and he gave them all a pardon. The Cheney, all the scum that was on the Unselect Committee, Cryan, Adam Kinzinger, and Democrats, and he gave them a pardon. Do you have something else, Guy?
I was just going to add one more thing on
Yes.
Adam Schiff. Director Pulte reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. Now, how does a family of four, and you're a developer, a very successful developer, how does a family of four live in a one-bedroom apartment?
No, it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now, let's see what happens. It's not up to me. I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem. Yeah, please.
So there was a hearing yesterday in the Harvard case. Would you allow Harvard to get their federal dollars back as a part of any agreement with the administration?
No, I'm not giving. Harvard's been given $7 billion. Can you believe it? By the $7 billion, and we want money to go to all universities, not Harvard. Harvard got more than anybody else. They have $52 billion. They get huge tax incentives and tax breaks on that $52 billion. But they have $52 billion, and they got $7 billion over a short period of time. And we have a very hostile judge appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, a very, very hostile judge who knows exactly right from wrong, but we expect to win it on appeal. She hasn't given a decision yet, but she's very hostile, and she was put by Barack Hussein Obama, and generally speaking, anybody that does that, we're gonna have problems with. So we don't expect to have. We won the case yesterday. Anybody that was there, that was a neutral, would say we easily won the case. But a lot of the case, and a big part of it's going to be how much money Harvard gets in the future. That's not part of the case, and they're not going to get very much.
Mr. President, where are we in terms of negotiating about the reciprocal tariff? How far are we
With who?
from
With the Philippines?
Yes,
Oh.
sir. How far
Are you
we
from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I'm from the Philippines. How far are we from achieving?
Well, it's tough. He's a very tough negotiator. So far, we're not there because he's negotiating too tough. In fact, I used to like him better than I do now. He's too tough. But we'll probably agree to something. But he's strong, a strong negotiator. He loves your country.
Mr.
And
President,
Mr.
Mr. President,
Philippines. When are you
talk-
coming to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Philippines,
please.
sir?
You talked a lot about the severe consequences that those who were involved in the Russia hoax must face. In your view, sir, what are the next steps now that these documents are out there in Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, the Justice Department would have to act. And we have a very competent, very good, very loyal to our country person in Pam Bondi, very respected. And it's going to be her decision.
Just a follow-up to that, sir. Kristi Noem was in New York City visiting an off-duty CBP officer who was allegedly shot this weekend by an illegal alien who came into the country during the previous administration.
Right.
What is your message to any local leaders who continue to push sanctuary city policies after this nearly tragic incident?
So the only thing I don't understand, because you like to understand things and we're all smart people and all, but why would they allow 21 million people into our country, unvetted, unchecked? You don't allow it. You wouldn't allow people in. He's tough. No, their country's run properly. Biden and his group of thugs, and I don't think it was Biden, I think it was the people that surrounded that beautiful Resolute desk right behind you. They allowed 21 million people, probably much more than that, and many of them came from jails and gangs and drug dealers and mental institutions, insane asylums. Many of them are very sick. 21 million, probably 25 million, probably even more than that. And we're getting them out. Many were murderers, as I said. They killed people. Many killed more than one person. Stone cold murders. I don't understand why they would have allowed that. There's only two reasons. The vote, because they want voters. That's one reason. I don't think they would have done it for that because they cheat. You know, they're so good at cheating, they don't need that. But the vote, and the second reason is they hate our country. I think they hate our country. I actually do. And it's the biggest problem. I mean, much of our time is spent with, you know, we have the strongest border anywhere in the world now. Maybe even stronger than your border, if you can believe it. We have no people came in last month, zero, which is pretty amazing. I'm not even sure I can believe that. But liberals are the ones that do that calculation. So, but we had no people come in. A year ago, we had hundreds of thousands of people come in. Hundreds of thousands of people. And they flowed in. And if it wasn't for the election, it would have been millions of people came in last year. So millions of people prior to election time, they allowed millions and millions of people to come into our, I mean, you saw it. They'd open the gates. If you took an Alabama-LSU football game that holds 128,000 people, I was there, 128,000 people, and I liked them and they liked me. But if you took that and doubled it, that's what used to flow into our country on a daily basis. It's not even believable. And we're getting them out, and we're starting with the worst ones. And we had a man shot yesterday, a police officer who's a great gentleman, shot right here in the throat. Probably won't be able to speak again. But he was brave, and he shot the other guy, and they ended up getting him. And you saw the scene where his friend took him to a hospital and dumped him down on the sidewalk. The whole thing was crazy. But why would anybody do to our country what these Democrats have done? And honestly, we can never forget it. We can never forget it. What they have done, the damage that they've done to America is very, very sad. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Fred, for Adele right today. Thank you, guys, for moving. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Come on, we're the order, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. How's your health? Thank you. Come on. How's your health? Let's go, guys. Thank you.
There you have it. President Trump wrapping up a bilateral press conference with the Philippine President Marcos. The two gentlemen will likely break bread now and discuss trade. While addressing the press, President Trump making mention of the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, stating that he is not happy with the Fed chairman. And, well, as he stated, he'll be gone in some 8 months or so. The president also reflecting on the assassination attempt on his life. He credited the Secret Service for saving his life and said that they are some of the best men and women in the world. Meanwhile, over on Capitol Hill, House Speaker Mike Johnson says Congress will have to wait until at least after the August recess to vote on a resolution requiring President Donald Trump to release more files in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. The potential resolution follows the Justice Department's announcement that Epstein did not have a client list. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is our friend, Mr. Arif Halaby, back here on the Live Zone. Arif, always good to see you, sir, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll get to Capitol Hill in just a second. However, let's start with regard to what the president had to say during this bilateral meeting with Philippine President Marcos. You heard the president posed with several questions surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, to which he immediately answered. Wasn't coy, if you will, yet many that continue to back the president are still somewhat skeptical as to why he has not released or had the Justice Department release the Epstein files as yet.
Yeah, I think if there was any evidence that President Trump or even his family or close friends were on that list, we would have heard it through the last administration. So I don't believe there's any evidence that he's trying to hide about himself. I think it truly is an opportunity to protect the victims, names, people that may have just caught a ride on the plane. I mean, we've been talking about this for quite some time on my radio show that there's when you throw a net like this, you're going to catch a lot of people that are unintended suspects or victims in the story. And so I think there's some sensitivity to that. It's hard to say, why is Ms. Maxwell in prison for what? And why did Jeffrey get arrested? So there might be a semantic game on a list, Guy, that okay, there's no exact list, but it's in a book or something. It's a game, I think, at this point.
You made mention of Ms. Maxwell. We know that the Justice Department will now reach out to Ms. Maxwell for a meeting amid recent calls for the associate of Jeffrey Epstein to testify about the accused sex trafficker. What, if anything, will come from that meeting?
Well, I expect her to lay out a list of people that may be unknown on the current list. Maybe procedures, maybe ways in which they recruited people, ways in which they circumvented the law. The problem is you have multi-billionaires. You have Ehud Barak, you have Bill Gates, you have big names that are known to have done some nefarious activity. It's part of the reason that Bill and Melinda divorced. That's public information now. We know that there are others that are looped up into this, and how deep it goes, maybe she has some information. I'm kind of surprised with her father being part of the Mossad, Jeffrey Epstein having ties with various, or at least alleged ties with various intelligence groups. Not sure what she's going to add to the story. Maybe it's methods, procedures, things that are just not written down on paper.
Yeah, we'll have more on Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and, of course, all things surrounding President Trump shortly right here on the Live Zone. Let's move back to the bilateral meeting that the president just held with President Marcos out of the Philippines, who, in essence, hopes to address the current trade policies that are in place. Now, we know the Southeast Asian country received a letter from President Trump saying he plans to impose a 20% tariff on its exports to the U.S. We also know that President Trump has a great relationship with President Marcos's mom. When the two leaders spoke back in November, Trump asked Marcos, "How's your mom doing?" Obviously, a lot of folks are stating that this could really assist with regard to the negotiations between the two.
Yeah, I think if you see his English accent, he speaks better English than most folks that have been here for 20 years. So he's very well educated in the United States, very well educated on the ways in which the U.S. government and the society operates. Look, there's $40 billion a year, $40 billion a year that is sent remittance from the United States to the Philippines. That is a lot more than the $9 or $10 billion in trade. So what Mr. Marcos's goal should be is to keep that 40 billion from being taxed. And my push is the president and his team needs to tax all remittances that leave the United States and go to any place, whether it's the Philippines, India, Mexico, China, it doesn't matter. If you leave the United States, that dollar will never be taxed in the United States again. It will never be spent here. There'll never be goods and services purchased. That $40 billion that is sent every year from the United States to the Philippines, that's the concern. The $9 billion in trade. Look, Guy, you're wealthy in the Philippines if you make more than $1,000 a month. There is no room to purchase American goods. You're trying to survive. So there is no market for what we have. So who cares what their tariffs are on us? It really doesn't matter. There's a handful, maybe 5% of the population that can afford American goods and services. It's irrelevant. It's the 40 billion in remittances. That's the key.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. Yet again, the two leaders are now meeting and breaking bread while discussing trade policies. Let's move on to the Fed chairman. You heard me make mention of him earlier. I'm referring to Mr. Jerome Powell. The president, during that bilateral meeting, saying in essence, he's a goner, that he will no longer be in that position 8 months from now. This just days after the Treasury Secretary spoke out saying that Mr. Powell is a good public servant who should finish the term if he wants to. I guess the question is, Arif, will the Treasury Secretary now face attacks from President Trump for going against the grain?
Well, I think you're going to see the yin and yang, good cop, bad cop between the administration. In a normal administration, and President Trump's administrations, both number 1 and 2, have anything but normal. So I think President Trump, normally what would happen is if you lost the confidence of the president and you served in this position, you would step down. You would resign, give your letter of resignation, and move on to teach at Harvard or Yale or something. That is not happening here because there's a little bit of an internal struggle, and the 12 other banks that basically control the Federal Reserve still have a say. Jerome Powell is interesting. The Federal Reserve is really controlled by three major banks. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase, Warren Buffett, who really controls Bank of America, he's one of the largest shareholders, and then of course Wells Fargo. So those three banks are the big shareholders. If they want Jerome Powell gone, he's gone. If Jamie Dimon expresses concern that he no longer has confidence, really that holds more sway than President Trump, as well as Warren Buffett and some others. So it is the big banks that control the Federal Reserve, really not the president. And the 12 other governors, they can have a say, and they do. There's a couple that want him gone. But until they reduce interest rates, and when they do, mark my words, Guy, with the changes in this tax law, there is an enormous amount of growth to come. If you don't understand how to buy assets today, if you don't understand how to position your portfolio, this is an enormous change that's coming. People don't understand what's happening and what's going to happen next. The changes in the tax law are over the head of most Americans, but I will tell you, it's going to make an enormous difference in the economy in the United States in the next 4 years.
You and I both made mention of Jerome Powell possibly being gone sometime in the near future. One thing we know for sure is that the White House wants the Wall Street Journal reporters gone. In this case, gone from the upcoming trip to Scotland for President Trump.
Yeah.
The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, now stating that a change was made due to the Wall Street Journal's fake and defamatory conduct, a reference to the publication's recent story about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Is this the right direction with regard to free speech, free press that we should be going into?
Oh, Guy, this is such a hard conversation to have with somebody like President Trump, because he doesn't understand that, you know, there are going to be people that don't like you. When you were the billionaire in New York and everybody was your friend because they wanted something from you, and you knew that. You knew that that was the game you were playing. Well, probably into his 20s, he figured that out. But today you're the president of the United States, and there are people that make a living off of whatever you say, they say the opposite. There are people that make a living that pick on you, like Mr. Colbert and others. So I think he just doesn't have that same personality that a politician that grows up in Washington or any capital, Albany for that matter. It's just not that way. So I think the Wall Street Journal, if what they did was 100% wrong instead of incorrect, if you had an incorrect, dishonest approach, then they should be punished. If it's I think it's dark blue and you think it's light blue, maybe there's a nuance there, that's different. So we'll see what that change ends up becoming. But I think the president is just never going to grow a thicker skin. You have to decide if you want to be in his circle or not.
Yeah, too bad for the Wall Street Journal reporter. A trip to Scotland, I got to tell you, I would take that up any and every day.
I would have not packed anything except my golf clubs. So it would have just been what I'm wearing and a set of golf clubs. That's it.
And a glass for some scotch. I'll tell you that. I'll take that any day. Arif, the Trump administration has made more than 240,000 pages of records of the FBI surveillance of Martin Luther King Jr. public. This happening yesterday, despite opposition from his family and civil rights groups. Now, President Trump has said he would declassify records on the assassinations of Dr. King, as well as former President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert Kennedy. Many are now stating, Mr. President, you did this in order to divert attention from, yet again, the Epstein case. Do you believe that?
No, I don't. I think he had a promise years ago to release both the John F. Kennedy assassination files as well as Martin Luther King. I'm an acquaintance with Martin Luther King's niece, Dr. Alveda King, and we have spoken on many occasions at dinner and other times about what she thinks happened. I won't say a whole lot. You could read her book, certainly, and maybe speak to her privately, but she will tell you that she feels an injustice was done. I'm trying to walk carefully on this, but there was absolutely a coercion about his inner circle and some of those men that are there that are pictured in some of these images to defame Martin Luther King and to defame his movement. Look, he wasn't an angel. We know that. That's not the key. The key is he was an upper middle class man, Dr. Martin Luther King. They were one of the only ones that had a swimming pool in his neighborhood. They lived in a wonderful place, but he had been under threat for quite a long time. They had to build a special place at his home in order to get out of the car and get into the house and back and forth. They had special glass, et cetera, put on the front of his home because they were worried about attacks. So he wasn't afraid. He was just living life and standing up for what he believed in. So I think it's time. I think between this, the Hillary Clinton release, where we know that China had all the files and we're actually listening real time, and so was Russia. And then we know one of our allies, I won't say which one because I'm not sure if that's public yet, but we know one of our allies was listening real time to the communications between Hillary Clinton and President Barack Obama. They had phony email addresses, et cetera, so they could communicate incognito. But once everybody from the 24-year-old kid who couldn't tie his shoes in the basement handling the server, all of those people received immunity, FBI immunity, which means they cannot be prosecuted, and that's very important. That means the truth should come out. That means the truth exists. I think government needs to stop some of this craziness. The covert agencies in the United States are really giving themselves a bad name, and the good men and women that work hard a bad name.
Yeah. All right. We'll end with this, Arif, and that is President Trump now pulling the United States out of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. The president calling the organization, in so many words, too woke in the past, and says it does not fit the values Americans voted for during the last election. Is this a proper and/or good move by the president to make?
Well, he pulled out before. So did Ronald Reagan in 1984. So these pullouts are not uncommon. The level of corruption on the international scale. I sit on a board of charity at one point, and we used to send medical equipment overseas. So it was our own money. There wasn't a government agency involved. We would get to the ports. This is medical equipment from the United States to these other places, both in Central America and in Africa. And when we would do that, we would have to have money set aside to pay the bribes to the people at the docks in order to get medical equipment and supplies to their own people in their own country, meaning we got nothing out of it. We had to raise money specifically to pay, quote, these exorbitant fees. That's a personal experience. That's me telling you right now. So how much more is UNESCO corrupt? Times probably 100. So it's a very corrupt organization. I think churches and charities should be in charge of that. They have connections on the ground. I think if you want to make a difference in charities and churches and organizations, you give directly to them, whether it's in Texas or whether it's in West Africa, it doesn't matter. I think you give directly to those organizations and they'll make a difference.
Very good. Yet again, we've been speaking with Arif Halaby. Obviously, folks want to get a chance to check out your radio show, sir. How would one go about to do so?
Yeah, every Sunday on the West Coast, Pacific time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's on AM 870, The Answer. It's called the Total Financial Hour. Politics, money, what's it going to do for you, and how do you make a difference in your financial life? That's what we're here for.
Always love having you on the show. Truly appreciate your time.
Thanks, Guy. It's a pleasure.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take our first break. We'll be right back.
Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: Barrasso, Budd, Cassidy, Collins, Cornyn, Curtis, Daines, Ernst, Fisher, Graham, Justice, Lummis, Marshall, Moran, Murkowski, Paul, Risch, Tillis, and Tuberville. Senators voting in the negative: Cantwell, Coons, Gallego, Hirono, Kim, Murray, Ossoff, Peters, Reed, Smith, and Whitehouse. Britt. Mrs. Britt, aye.
Well, the long-simmering Jeffrey Epstein saga has erupted again, this time tearing open a major rift in Trump's GOP, with MAGA loyalists demanding Epstein transparency and Trump labeling the issue a hoax. The movement's once unified front now fracturing under the weight of the scandal and tribalism. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Ethan Watson, a Young Voices contributor and incoming O'Connor Fellow at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Ethan, you recently penned a USA Today article where you offer an urgent warning with regard of what's to come. And I'm curious your take on what's to come.
Well, I see nothing good coming for Republicans if they keep following President Trump down this path of covering for billionaire sex traffickers and bombing foreign nations with Iran last month. We voted for President Trump because we want to see change in Washington. And to me, that all sounds like business as usual. And recently, we've just seen representatives like Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna coming out and uniting to challenge President Trump on this. You know you've really done something wrong when both Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are unhappy with you. So I think President Trump needs to backtrack on his position on this and really push for transparency on the Epstein saga.
So many are speculating that the MAGA coalition, in essence, may not survive this. And it's something that's really, well, it's taking a reckoning for a lot of folks that they're saying in due time, this may all fall apart. Do you agree?
You know, I certainly hope I'm wrong, but it's looking like there's some cracks showing. So in the wake of the Iran bombing campaign and now continuing with this Epstein drama, you've got a lot of Trump loyalists roaming the internet claiming that they've always been loyal to Trump since he came down that escalator. They've been trusting the plan since day one, and they've never questioned him. To me, that kind of tribalism and gatekeeping is only going to lead to further divisions, and we can't cast people out for asking good faith questions about suspicious things like this Jeffrey Epstein saga. It's insulting to our intelligence to be told that we have to just trust the man when he deviates from his own policies that got him elected. And just today, we see that President Trump is now going to be addressing these Epstein inconsistencies, let's say. And we also saw that the Congress is going to be subpoenaing Ghislaine Maxwell, which means that our criticisms of this move are working. So we need to keep the pressure on and keep calling out our leaders, whether they're on the right or left.
Well, it appears the president is definitely feeling the pressure. We know yesterday the Trump administration released the MLK files that have quite honestly been under wrap for years, some 240,000 pages. Many have stated that he did so in order to divert the attention away from him surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. Do you believe that's actually the case?
I think it's certainly possible. You know, I don't have a window into President Trump's brain. I'm sure a lot of political commentators would love that. But I think it certainly is possible. But I'm actually less concerned about the motives behind it. I think it's a good move in transparency generally. And, you know, as someone who is generally distrustful of our government, I think we all have good reason to be distrustful of the federal government. I think it's a great move. And I'm hoping we see more of this transparency down the pipeline.
So the bottom line is that many would argue loyalty has replaced principle. And if that is definitely the case, that is quite concerning for all.
Certainly. For me, the only relevant litmus test is whether you love your country and you're trying to make it better. President Trump ran on that, but in making moves like getting us involved in more wars in the Middle East or apparently covering up for this awful, debauched person like Jeffrey Epstein, it seems like he's deviating from that. And I'm going to call out any leader, Republican or Democrat, who stops trying to make America great again.
May I ask, at what point did you say, you know what, I've had enough? Was it just the Jeffrey Epstein issue, if you will? Perhaps something else? Did it immediately snowball into all of this, or was it something that trickled down to what it is now?
Well, for me personally, I didn't turn on a dime. I try to be more reasoned than that. But I started to have questions during the Iran bombing campaigns last month. And I thought that didn't really seem like an America First agenda item. And so I had some questions, and I was really disturbed by how a lot of people on the right were talking about that, saying, oh, well, how dare you criticize President Trump? And President Trump's demeanor with regard to criticism on that that itself was very insulting, but it really came to a head with this Epstein thing, because this is a giant pivot from his position, from what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were saying, from what Pam Bondi was saying. And it really just feels insulting to all of our intelligence that we're supposed to just swallow this pill. And I really hope that we get some insight on this with this press conference later today.
Yet again, we've been speaking with Mr. Ethan Watson, a Young Voices contributor and incoming O'Connor Fellow at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University. Sir, I truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the Live Zone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, a number of folks are stating now that Americans believe Trump's policies and proposals will actually drive up housing costs. The question is, will that actually happen? Hopefully, our next guest can provide us with an answer. I'm pleased to say we're joined with Groundwork Collaborative's Chief of Policy and Advocacy, Mr. Alex Jaquez, right here on the Live Zone. Alex, thank you so much for being patient, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, it's the million-dollar question, specifically right here in the nation's capital, where the average cost of a home is now $1 million. Is Trump's policies and those that we are seeing unfold right before our eyes driving up housing costs?
That's the case that we're making. Whether you're a renter, a buyer, a seller, or a home builder, either way, the market is getting crushed right now. Interest rates and Trump's trade uncertainty are keeping mortgage rates high, hitting about 6.9% right now and up for 3 weeks in a row. Permits and home building has stalled. Home buying is at its lowest level since the 1990s. And still, you have 22 million renters out there who are cost burdened. About 1 in 5 DC residents pays more than 50% of their income to their rent every month. So no matter which way you look at it, there's no easy way out of this housing market situation. And both Trump's tax, trade, and economic policies are driving up those costs.
All right, Alex, you're pointing that finger right at me. I happen to be a part of that 50%, and I'm not happy, I can tell you that. We know that the president has threatened to privatize mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Do you think that will actually be the case sometime in the near future?
Trump says many things. It's hard to know exactly what he will follow through on, but I do think that if he were to privatize Fannie and Freddie, what it would mean was basically windfalls for investors and more pressure on mortgage rates. There's no scenario in which this privatization scheme will help affordability, and I think really opens up these mortgage giants to investor pressures to make profits, some of the activity that we saw in the run up to the global financial crisis. And so in addition to his attacks on the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, I think all of this is pushing the interest rate conversation and the economic climate into one of uncertainty.
And I'm glad you touched on the Fed chair, Mr. Jerome Powell. We saw earlier today during the bilateral meeting with the president of Philippines, President Marcos, that President Trump stated that Jerome Powell is a goner, in so many words, stating that he will be gone within 8 months. When we hear rhetoric like that, yet again, will that increase the chances for folks like you and I to have to pay more for housing costs on a monthly basis?
Look, it doesn't help. Already, you've seen the Fed governors say they would like to be cutting rates right now. I think the market would like to see rate cuts, but they are unable to do so because of this uncertainty around the trade policy. We're now up against an August 1st deadline for these deals, though that seems like might get extended even further. They have to wait and see what the outcome is going to be before they can bring down those interest rates, which are going to bring down mortgage rates. I really don't see that we have any relief coming shortly, especially if he keeps threatening the Fed chair's independence. That is going to send shivers up the spine of the bond market and put an upward pressure on those interest rates.
Well, and with this, Alex, I'm a stats guy all the way to the end. In this case, the report states that 72% of voters believe it is now a bad time to buy a home. That is concerning. And the second stat, 69% of Americans are concerned about their ability to maintain stable housing. This yet again proves that this is a serious issue.
Absolutely right. And it's only getting worse. I think that is the point that we are trying to make here. Families need relief from these high prices. Rent is making up a bigger share of those costs. Mortgage rates are too high. It's time to change something.
Yet again, we've been speaking with Alex Jaquez. He is with the Groundwork Collaborative's Chief of Policy and Advocacy, and yet again, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Thanks again for being patient, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Warns that ongoing insecurity continues to severely restrict humanitarian access, making it difficult to reach those in need. The latest displacement adds to an already dire situation nationwide. As we told you last week, nearly 1.3 million people in Haiti are displaced, the highest number ever recorded in Haiti due to violence and insecurity. OCHA reiterates the urgent need for scaling up humanitarian support and protection of families across the country. We continue to work with partners and authorities to improve access, mobilize additional funding, which is obviously critically needed, and ensure humanitarian assistance reached the most in need despite increasingly constrained operating environment. Basta. Edie.
Thank you, Steph. On Gaza and the escalating malnutrition, reported deaths from starvation, excuse me, what action is the Secretary General taking in terms of trying to contact Israeli officials and try and get some responses?
We are trying at all levels with Israeli officials to allow us to do the work that we're able to do and that we so desperately need to do. And I can tell you that messages have been passed on at all levels directly from the Secretary General. Yes.
The United States announced that it would withdraw from UNESCO earlier today. It would withdraw at the end of 2026. Does the Secretary General have any comment?
He does have a comment, and I read it out. I said he deeply regretted the decision. He joins Audrey Azoulay deeply regretting the decision.
I must have missed that, but I have a follow-up then. That Gideon Sarf has said that on the matter, that singling out Israel and politicization by member states must end in this and all professional UN agencies. Any comment on that?
Well, I can tell you, first of all, let's be clear. United Nations Secretariat personnel or the heads of agencies cannot be held responsible for the statements that delegations make within the various legislative bodies of this organization, nor should they be held responsible for the resolutions that member states pass. And I can tell you from UNESCO's standpoint, they have been at the forefront, and especially its Director General personally, in the fight against anti-Semitism. Lenka, and then Linda.
Thank you. Just a follow-up on UNESCO. The U.S. also said that UNESCO should revise its own culture and that they have this bias and that they have globalist agenda. Do you think, does the Secretary General think that UNESCO should try to accommodate the U.S. concerns because they had the same in 2018? Or does he think that they should try to actually, just continue whatever they are doing?
I don't really understand what a globalist agenda is. I think every member state has had some complaint about the way the organization as a whole, the whole UN agency system works. I think our comment to every member state is participate if you want to change things. Yes, ma'am, and then I'll come to you, Linda.
Hi. Following up on UNESCO too, we've been through this before, so I was wondering what is different this time in the way the organization can face this withdrawal?
UNESCO is a specialized agency in terms of the impact, the financial impact, operational impact. I would ask you, we can put you in touch with them. I can't speak to them. I can't speak for them to that. That makes sense. Linda, then Pam.
Thank you, Steph. I was wondering if you're familiar with, I gather there was a statement released by the editorial committee of the AFP about the state of their journalists or freelance journalists in Gaza, and that they were lamenting, warning that there are very few local journalists who are capable of reporting these days. Some of theirs are just too weak to work. Hunger has struck them as many locals. And I was just wondering, is this something the UN has heard about? And also, Is this situation, have you heard this regarding the state of journalism in Gaza?
I mean, I read the statement, and it is heartbreaking, right? And it is a reminder of the work that those journalists who have stayed in Gaza, those Palestinians who have stayed in Gaza, are putting their lives on the line to report, right? In the face of fighting and in the face of hunger. We have repeatedly called for journalists to be allowed in to Gaza to report. And I think often you all ask me questions saying, you know, the Israelis say this, or Hamas says this, and the UN says that. If there were journalists on the ground from your organizations, perhaps those answers could be gotten by doing the work that journalists do. It's also a reminder that everyone in Gaza, every Palestinian, including our own colleagues, are suffering. Our Palestinian colleagues are hungry as well, and they have to work, and they continue to work. They continue to try to feed their fellow Gazans, and they're also trying to feed their own families.
Does the UN have any sense of the decrease in the size of the journal? You know,
No, I mean, we don't have a, you know, we don't
Even
have a head count
anecdotally?
of journalists, but I think most international news organizations have stringers or people they work with in Gaza, and I'm sure they're seeing the same thing. Gabriel.
Thank you, Steph. I want to go back to the WHO incident and the attack by Israel on the WHO facilities and staff members. I won't repeat everything that Israel did, but detaining, storming the facility, the list goes on. They still have one staff member that is detained by Israel. If any other member state did this to a UN facility and UN staff, there would be major uproar. But it seems like, because Israel is doing it, and because they've been doing it for 2 years now, that it's just sort of a shrug of the shoulders. Not you, not the SG, but just in general. What is the SG going to do to finally end this impunity by a member state?
The Secretary General cannot be and should not be a lone voice in the desert. United Nations staff serve on behalf of the United Nations, and the United Nations is made up of 193 member states who all signed on to the Charter, right? Who all signed on to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All those countries have to respect international, have to respect the Charter, and when others don't, they have to call them out. Okay, yes, Pam.
Thanks, Steph. A little more on UNESCO. This DG, Azoulay, increased the programs to fight anti-Semitism. Now some of the budget will be cut back because of the U.S. withdrawal. We've been through this before. They survived. How do you think they'll make up the money that they'll need to keep some of those programs going?
Look,
And then I have a separate...
again, that's a question you have to ask UNESCO. I don't think the U.S. funding of UNESCO is nowhere near the share of the Secretariat's own funding. So I have no doubt that they will continue their activities because they believe in those activities, and they will continue those.
Oh, sorry,
Yep.
just a second. On next week's two-state solution conference, we haven't gotten much. Now it's been postponed once. One would think maybe there was a more of an agenda or list of speakers, and we haven't gotten
I don't
any.
have much more detail. I would encourage you to check with the French and
do you
Saudi
expect
missions.
an
And
outcome document?
I think you have to ask the organizers.
I know, they don't seem to answer. Okay.
And I do expect the Secretary General to speak at the opening session.
Thank you.
Michelle Nichols.
Thank you, sir. Two quick questions. This morning when the SG was saying that the humanitarian system in Gaza is being denied conditions to function, space to deliver, and safety to save lives, who is he referring to? Who is denying this?
We've been very clear, have put in place a system that is strangling our humanitarian operations.
Thank you. And then a second question on, I know we've spoken about this topic a lot over the past year or so, but if you could just refresh us. Israel and the US say that mass aid diversion by Hamas is a key reason why Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is needed. Has the UN seen evidence of mass aid diversion by Hamas in Gaza?
No. And I think our friend Carl Scow used more words to answer that question when he was here about 10 days ago or so. All right, Sinan, and then our friend Massimo has been more patient.
All right, yet again, we'll continue to cover the UN briefing. Hunter Biden now speaking out about his father's decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential race. He's also touching on the president's controversial debate performance and revealing what he thinks went wrong. According to the former first son, Joe Biden had taken Ambien to help him sleep better amid his grueling schedule and age. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Marlo Greer, federal trial attorney and political commentator, and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Marlo, and welcome to the show.
Good to see you. How are you today?
It has been a busy day, and it just keeps on getting busier. But what else is new? That's what happens in this world of news cycle, if you will. Let's take a step back. And before we examine what the former first son said, let's chat about his own legal and personal challenges and whether or not it really affected President Biden's political landscape. Your take on that?
Of course, I do believe that it affected the political landscape. I mean, how can it not when you have family members that are committing multiple felonies? It's just, you're running on a platform where you're trying to say that your opponent is a felon themselves, where, you know, your own son has committed multiple felonies. It just, people don't really like that. They don't like the word felony, and it affects everybody around you.
So with that being said, how do you think public opinion on Hunter Biden overall is? And with that being said, does what he have to say have any relevance now?
I don't know that it really has any relevance, although it really does speak to how we have somewhat devolved as a society in what we say and the words that we use. You know, these words are considered obscene. A CEO gets fired for being on a kiss cam, which frankly involves, you know, the word that Hunter used over and over more than anything that Hunter had to say, right? And so he's using these obscenities, and he's just bringing everything down. Whether or not former President Biden was using Ambien is actually a very good question, and whether they gave it to him. Ambien has serious side effects that can make you have horrible dreams and frankly not remember what you're saying. And so that decision is really a questionable decision. But then to have it overlaid by basically, when we won't say the word, right? Because we don't want to, we don't want to be at the same level. We want to go higher. And it's just, it really canceled out anything that he had to say. And his attacks on former George Clooney, or not former actor apparently, but what I'm hoping is that maybe we'll get a movie out of George Clooney after this to prove that he really is an actor. When it comes to legal analysis and legal briefs, those are words that we're not even allowed to say. I could go to jail for saying those words. And so it seems to me that really what we should be doing is, if we have something that we think is important to say, and Hunter, I believe, felt that this was very important to say, it seems to me that you would have thought about that a little bit more and figured out a way to say it and to go higher as opposed to going lower.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting as all of this continues to unfold. We also know, to your point, that he made it very clear, and let me repeat, very clear, that he is very upset with Democrats who called on his dad to drop out of the race.
Yes, absolutely. He's very upset. But again, what do we know other than he's very upset, right? Because again, the words that he used, he didn't really give us anything intelligent to go on. He didn't give us anything that would really help us understand why he's very upset. He just spent an entire time cursing. I mean, if you were talking to someone and you really wanted to get a point across, I mean, is that really how you would do it?
All right, well, we'll end with this, and that is overall, is this a black eye for the Democratic Party? Yet again, they have not been able to, in my mind, seem to have bounced back since January. And will they be able to move forward with regard to what Hunter Biden is now saying about the Democrats?
I think that the Democrats are going to have to distance themselves from Hunter Biden. I believe that they really are going to have to go high. They're going to have some commentary that is not on that same level.
All right. Couldn't have put it any better. Yet again, we have been speaking with Marlo Greer, federal trial attorney and political commentator. Enjoyed having you on the show, Marlo. Hope to see you sometime in the near
Thank you
future.
so much. It was great to be here.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, let's have some fun, shall we? We'll do a little celebrity dish with the media prince. He's coming up next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Let's have a little fun, shall we? Time for a little celebrity dish on a Feel Good Tuesday. And as he does each and every Tuesday, our guy is back. Yes, we're talking about the royalty of media. Why? Because he goes by the name of Media Prince. What's up, my friend?
What's happening? We are live in the zone.
It's good to have you on the show. We have been quite busy, and it's always good that we can chit-chat all things celebrity. Unfortunately, we're going to start off this segment on a sad note. We are remembering Malcolm Jamal Warner. The 54-year-old former Cosby Show star died from an accidental drowning in Costa Rica. Authorities say a current pulled him deeper into the ocean while he was swimming. Now, his role as Theodore Huxtable on The Cosby Show earned him an Emmy nomination. He played that character for, count 'em, 8 seasons, appearing in all 197 episodes. He also starred in the sitcoms Malcolm and Eddie and Read Between the Lines, as well as in the medical drama The Resident. Warner also received a Grammy Award in 2015 for Best Traditional R&B performance. It has now been more than 24 hours of Media Prince since we got word of his death, and I got to tell you, it's still shocking.
It's very, very shocking. I think the world together. We lost a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, that we just grew in love for years. I mean, for crying out loud, he's on every morning and every night in my household. So I see Malcolm all the time. So just to see and hear the news of this was just like you were taken aback. Especially, unfortunately, we all have to go sometime on this earth, but it's like when certain people leave, you're just like, no, we weren't ready for you to go yet. You had so much more to do. And it's just devastating to know that he was just going for a trip out Costa Rica just to relax and unwind. And this happened to be the ultimate demise. But I'm thankful to know that he wasn't one of the messy actors that where he passed. There was a lot of foolery that came in afterwards. He actually had a nice, steady career. He did well. He was good to the people. And I think we're all just mourning together because this is a loss because the Cosby Show was our beacon. So Theo was our example of how we can navigate in a family like the Huxtables. So rest in peace. It's just a sad day here. And I pray for the family and condolences to those that are connected to him and through him. And it's just tough. It's just going to be a little tough time right now for that, as far as that.
To your point, I find it not necessarily amazing, but it makes me happy that he was not associated with the buffoonery that we have seen in the past with so many childhood stars. I saw a soundbite earlier from Jaleel White. Obviously, he played Urkel, Steve Urkel. And one of the things that he stated was Malcolm Jamal Warner was one of the first childhood stars that his mom would allow him to go hang out with, which I thought is just really cool. I also thought that 197 episodes, Media Prince, meaning he never missed a day. That is something.
And he went to the spinoff.
Yeah.
And he went to the spinoff for when Cosby went to and created another show. Like, people really got jiggy with Theo. And he also just opened up a door for people to fit in. And, his character on The Cosby Show also, I believe, had dyslexia. So he just was so many things and ways of how you could connect with him. And he literally became who you grew with. And like till this day is somebody that we're going to continue to grow with. And the future generations that unfortunately may not know he's here or not, they're going to continue to grow with him. So he created an amazing legacy that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, and so talented. I don't know if a lot of folks know, but I happen to be a huge fan of the group New Edition. He actually directed the video Any Heartbreak, which a lot of folks didn't even know, and I didn't until probably 2 years after it was done.
He was very close to being an EGOT. He had 2 of them already down packed, ladies and gentlemen. The brother was on his way. So, we'll see. But yeah, I think in times like this, we're also going to learn as the public more things he had his fingers in that we didn't quite know. Like, who knew this brother directed videos too? Like, I think we're also going to rediscover him in all different facets as well. So I'm excited to learn also what other things he had in his pocket that we didn't know about.
Malcolm Jamal Warner, yet again, gone far too soon at the age of 54. All right, let's move on to Tyler Perry. And it's going to take every bone in my body to keep it together as I read this story. But apparently he's not here for the handouts. Now, he recently revealed to Kurt Franklin that one of his aunts kept asking him for money, so he gave her a job. But he claims she rarely showed up to work and still wanted to keep receiving the moolah. Tyler says that didn't work for him, and he doesn't believe in giving out money to keep folks handicapped. He also revealed that another family member got upset with him after he refused to give them $1 million. Media Prince, why am I not surprised?
I think we are in the era where, okay, so I'm going to just tell you this. I can 50% understand where the aunt is coming from, and then I can 50% understand where.
Oh, come on.
Tyler, and no, listen, hear me out, because of course we know hard work, makes everything worthwhile. Success comes from hard work. But as you know, as a hard worker, sometimes you wouldn't mind and just sit there and receive a check and not do nothing, okay? But I understand he wants people to learn the value of a dollar, especially if you know his history. He was homeless and he had to grind his way to the top. So in essence, he wants his family to also know that, yeah, I can give you I can give you these handouts, but you need to work for these so that we can pass down the tradition of working hard for your money. But on the flip side, wouldn't it be just nice to just have a cousin or an uncle that could just throw you $1 million and you don't got to do squat? I mean, so that's the happy medium between the two that I could see both sides.
That's the equivalent of you having a cousin, niece, or a homeboy from around the way, as I like to say, that's going to just call you up and say, you know what, I expect to be on the Live Zone next week because you're on it, Media Prince.
Now see this. Now see, it's all fair and game until you ask me for the money, okay? I was saying I could be the cousin that asks another cousin, but if I'm the cousin that has to be yeah, that's what it changes. So I guess we gonna fully go behind Tyler because he happens to be the cousin with the money. And if you begging and knocking on my door, good riddance.
Yeah, good riddance to all of it. It just, I cannot believe he gave his aunt out of all people, someone he should be looking up to, gave her a job, and she just says, the heck with it, just give me the money. Unbelievable.
He said, child, cut that check, please. I'm going home to lay down. My feet hurt.
Oh, gosh. All right, let's move on to the Sex and the City spinoff. Apparently, the cast might be hanging up those stilettos for the final time. A former star of the franchise now adding to growing criticism, suggesting the reboot has run its course. The actor said during a recent interview that, well, quite honestly, it's just like that, and just like that meaning it's time to go. The reboot has received mixed reviews from viewers, with some arguing it's lost its touch compared to the original series. I was a huge fan of the original series, Media Prince. Haven't seen the reboot as yet.
I haven't seen the reboot either, and I don't plan on. I think the only perfect thing is they have Nicole Ari Parker, who always makes TV great. But I think what we're all just saying, it's missing that spark. It's missing, what is the character that was just, she just was the outside character. Like, she was really doing things outside. I think she's missing from the show. And I think in essence, they wanted all 4 of the ladies back versus just 3. And they're just trying to get in where they're fit in. And honestly, Sex and the City came in a time where people really embraced it, and it became a cultivation of like life and trend setting. We're in a new world where the girl from Sex and the City is not thriving. Today, the girl that's thriving is the city girl, and she could care less about that. So it's like that world of where we were intrigued and cared about Sex and the City, that's no longer the world we're in now. So like the series, and just like that, it can go.
Yeah, we talked about this on Like It or Not last night, and that is reboots. Do you like them? Do you think they are warranted? Or especially when it's, let's say, a series and or a movie that, well, quite honestly, it didn't do a reboot for, let's say, years. I can tell you Coming to America, it happened to be decades. Top Gun Maverick, that was also decades. And so even with Sex and the City, maybe not decades, but at least 7 to 8 years.
Right. I think reboots are okay if you bring them back in a way that doesn't feel cringy or like a whole new story. Like, I do like the reboots. Like, I know this is controversial, and we clearly saw her get her butt kicked off her own reboot. But I liked how Roseanne rebooted. It came back. It felt like a continuation. It didn't feel like a new show. And that's the thing we want, is for it to feel like a continuation versus a new show. I also like the reboot they did with that 70s show. They did that 90s show. It feels like a continuation versus a reboot, even down to like if we want to take it to the Disney world, how they rebooted Raven's Home, which was a continuation of that. So I like when it's a continuation versus feeling like a new story. And I think with Sex and the City, it didn't feel like a continuation. It felt like a new story. So it's just like, we're trying to get on, but this is too new.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm here for it for the time being, until I probably watch 2 or 3 episodes, and then I will likely agree with the actor and say it's time to go. Hey, we'll end with this, and that is Jennifer Love Hewitt saying that she was never insecure until she was shamed back in 2007. Well, after photos of her in Hawaii surfaced with the headline, "Stop Calling Me Fat," the paparazzi shows permanently shifted Hewitt's mentality. In a recent interview, the actress went on to explain, saying, quote, "There's a part of me that's always like, is this version going to be good enough, or is that going to happen yet again?" Dear God, it has to be somewhat troubling to live with, Media Prince.
I mean, welcome to America. I mean, home of the critiques. I mean, you just have to get tough skin, thick skin. I'm glad that she's opening up about it, because she's always, so if you follow Jennifer Love Hewitt's career, she's very like, she just coasts. You don't hear her being problematic. You don't hear her making a fuss. So it's nice to also hear her be a little bit more open. I think we're in the era where people are inviting us more in because she really didn't say too much. And she was actually one of the actresses that were able to kind of navigate out of the tabloid scene without being a speculation. But, honestly, I hope she's gotten thicker skin. She just had the premiere the other day with I Know What You Did Last Summer, and she was looking pretty nice on the red carpet, and the compliments were complimenting. So I think people are loving the body she has. So I think she needs to just be more confident in it and show them that it's baddie season, and she's definitely in her bag. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me, go Google those pictures as soon as I'm done talking.
I've always been a fan of hers, mainly because of her work, and so I wish her the best, as I do you. Yet again, we've been joined with Media Prince for a little celebrity dish on a Feel Good Tuesday. Always good to see you, my friend.
It's always good to be seen, and until next time, remember, stay live in the zone.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Annie Mae joins us next with our Tuesday Talkers right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. If only you could see what happens off camera prior to when we jump on camera. It's a lot of fun, especially when Annie Mae is hanging out with us.
Guy and I always joke beforehand. I kind of love it. It's okay.
We should do like behind the scenes. I think it'd be kind of cool.
If we did a BTS, I don't know that anybody would ever forget it.
Yeah, we'd probably not be working here much longer.
There's never a true BTS, is there?
Hey, we're talking Tuesday Talkers, some of the stories that you all are talking about at home. We're going to kick it off with, I found this really interesting. It's a mom who went on vacation with her hubby, of course. In his family, she has 3 kids. The vacation was 17 days long. Mom said after spending 12 days under the same roof, she got upset and said, you know what, I'm hopping on a plane, I'm going back home, you keep the kids, you hang out with your family. She's now catching a lot of flack for doing just that. I say, I can kind of understand where she's coming from.
Well, what kind of vacation is 17 days long?
Yeah, and they're staying under one
What kind of
house,
PTO do
one
you
roof.
have? I want to talk.
Well,
is this
yeah.
like that unlimited PTO where they're like, oh, everybody only takes off 2 weeks? And it's like, yeah, okay. I was just talking to my friend actually the other day. I won't expose her name. But she was like, oh, I have unlimited PTO. And she's like, I just took off a Friday and a Monday like once a month. I'm like, yo,
Wow.
that's nice.
Where does she work? Are they hiring?
Are they hiring is the question. No, I mean, I would always ditch a vacation if it was like with in-laws that I didn't like,
Yeah.
100%, or if it was like for too long. But 17 days for a vacation is where it's getting me right now.
Yeah.
I wish I had 17 days for a vacation.
Yeah, you and me both.
That's
gosh.
moving.
I'm trying to think. How many? I think I have 2 weeks. I don't know. I gotta check.
I don't even have that for the whole year.
Well, then maybe I only have a
17
week
days
then.
for the whole year.
I don't know. I haven't taken one yet, so I gotta check.
This guy's like crying when he says that. He's like, I don't have a vacation day.
I kind of get it though. I mean, you're hanging out with your in-laws, and perhaps it's just best to leave versus stay there.
Yeah.
You know, and cause an issue.
Yeah, if you were like not getting along, and I totally understand the reason people don't get get along with their in-laws. It makes complete sense. When people go, oh, I don't get along with his mother or my mother-in-law, like her, I'm like, yeah, I understand. Because a lot of moms are not the easiest to get along with.
And then that whole cooking thing, like I love to cook. I'm
Yeah.
in the relationship, I'm the cooker,
Yeah.
right? Imagine, like, let's say the mother-in-law's like, oh no, I'm cooking. Oh no, I want to cook.
Yeah. She can cook. I ain't the cooker. I'm like, okay. But then they kind of look at me and they're like, do you want to help? I'm like,
No.
not really. Like, I will because I know it's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't really want to. I'm like, no. I don't want to
What do
ruin
you
the
do
meal.
when that happens?
When she asks me to help, I'll help.
Okay.
If she asks me to help, but I'll kind of just like sit there up until, because that is like the last thing in the world that I feed myself. I don't cook. I am fed.
Oh, that makes it even
Salt and
worse.
pepper chicken, okay?
Oh,
I will
gosh.
take that till the day I die.
All right, well, just know don't invite her because you're not getting any cooking. If
You'll bring
anything.
but I'm a good baker.
Well,
We had
there
this
you
discussion.
go.
I'm a really good baker.
So when it
I
comes
understand.
cookie time, you're all in.
Because I understand like basic instruction. I'm really good. Like I have very like OCD when it comes
Yeah.
to different things. Like I understand. Whoop, whoop, I can follow a recipe. You know, I'm a really good baker though.
It's the sound effects for me. The boom, boom. Hey, let's move on. Apparently, when it comes to dating, which, oh my gosh, it's so hard nowadays, single men are not approaching women in person anymore.
Yeah.
A number of women hopping on social media and saying, hey, you know what, guys? What gives? Why aren't you actually approaching me? Apparently, more and more men are just relying on dating apps and have lost the talent, if you will, the know-how to approach a young lady and or woman and say, you know what? I'm kind of interested in you. What say you?
I think this goes down to a bunch of different issues, which is crazy because I think the main issue is like my generation, the newest generation, really struggles with like basic social conversation. They have a lot of social anxiety when it comes to things. I think a good chunk of that is because of what happened in 2020. A lot of people just were kind of forced to stay home, but people struggle with like social anxiety and don't really want to go up to anybody, don't really want to go up to anybody new, don't want to go out at all. I think that's a big chunk of it, but also I think women these days are just kind of man haters. I'm like, I don't know where this narrative, seriously, I don't know where this narrative went that like we hate men. Like I get you wanting to be an independent woman. I am clear as day an example of an independent woman
Look
that
in the
also
dictionary,
relies on
you're
my
gonna see
man.
her.
Like,
Right.
you know, like I think you can be both things. You can be an independent, strong, powerful, driven woman, and you can also go home at the end of the day and release all of that and be with your man.
Yeah.
I think those things can coexist.
Yeah. I remember once upon a time, dating apps, if you happen to be on one, you were considered a loser.
Yeah, you're weird.
Yeah, now it's what everyone does.
Yeah.
And so it's
Now it's,
just
like,
weird.
normalized.
Yeah, but to not know how to approach someone?
That's like really alarming.
Yeah,
We're gonna run into like
scary.
issues come 10 years from now when nobody's married, nobody has kids, nobody because they didn't want to talk to anybody or go out.
Yeah, or I'm labeled weird and or crazy because I approached you in, let's say, a public setting.
That's the problem is men get like scrutinized for it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, go away, you're weird, and it's like half of you are, but like, but the other
Thanks,
half,
Annie
like,
Mae.
well,
I was
not
almost
you,
there,
Guy,
but
not you,
okay,
Guy.
well, thank you.
But that's why they don't come up to anybody because
Yeah.
women are just mean.
Yeah. All right. So take it easy, okay?
Take it
Don't be
easy,
as mean,
ladies. Take it
All right.
easy.
We'll end with this. A new survey says dual income couples with no kids are going into debt for their pets. Hey, that kind of rhymes. The survey found that 94% of these couples view their pets as family members, with 68% of these pet parents saying they have made financial sacrifices in order to cover pet essentials.
I guess if you don't have kids yourself and you have extra income because you're dual income, you pay, you know, you don't have any student loans, you don't have any debt, you don't have any of these other things. Like you have all this free extra kind of spending money that you can spend on yourself and you can spend on an animal. So like, I get it. I will never fully understand it because I'm not that way when it comes to an animal, but I do understand some people that are like that and that don't have kids and that never have kids and decide, okay, this person is kind of like my kid, or this pet is kind of like my kid.
Yeah.
So I understand wanting to buy nice things, but like for you to go to debt into that, like be so for real.
I know. It's just so weird. I've
Yeah.
seen so many people, and they would call their doggy either their daughter or son.
Yeah.
Even my mom did it the other
Yeah.
day. She was walking her dog, and she said, "Hey, your brother's on the phone." And I'm like, excuse me.
You're like,
Don't
no.
equate me to like your doggy.
No, like that's when you have kids and you have a dog. I guess it's maybe like an empty nest kind of thing, where it's like empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
When you grow up and you're out and your parents are a little bit older and they have animals. I get that. But if you have like a child and a dog and you're like bros, I'm like, that's weird to me. I always had dogs growing up and I never considered them my brothers.
Never. Yeah,
That's
they're
kinda,
the pet.
I don't know. That's
So,
weird.
But she's watching now, so
Don't
I'm pretty sure I'm about to get a text with her
don't-
saying, "He's still your brother."
I was gonna say, don't tell Jacqueline, man. Jacqueline and her dogs. Jacqueline and her dogs.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I guess that's why both you and I don't have kids and we don't have pets.
There we go. Bada bing.
And we're not losers. Thank you
And
very
we're not
much.
losers. Self-proclaimed.
Annie Mae with our Tuesday Talkers right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate you, Annie Mae. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Producer Chris with our sizzling topics on a Tuesday.
You know I love when I can come on here and talk about completely different stories but have a similar theme among them. And today's theme is reunions. I know it's not Throwback Thursday, it's only Tuesday. Don't get excited, we're not fast forwarding through the week. However, we had some on display recently, and we're going to start off with Stephen Colbert. You know, we talked about this last week. His show has officially been canceled, but he doesn't go off the air for another 10 months, which means he is officially, according to him, off the leash. Last night, he had a little tribute to his audience, I think you could call it. He said, you know, something that might make them feel better was a little Coldplay music. And then he kind of played into the thing that everyone has been talking about on social media, the CEO and HR manager caught on the kiss cam. He brought out Lin-Manuel Miranda and Weird Al Yankovic to perform the Coldplay song. But that is not the reunion we are here to talk about, because he also got a huge show of support from some fellow late night hosts. And the reunion we're talking about is a Daily Show reunion, because Jon Stewart and John Oliver were both in the audience.
That's awesome.
To cheer him on and get caught on Colbert's kiss cam. Now, you remember that Colbert, Stewart, and Oliver were all on the Daily Show at one point. Jon Stewart is still on the Daily Show. He actually had a whole... He made his feelings known, let's put it that way, on last night's episode of The Daily Show. Ironically, The Daily Show also owned by Paramount Global, the same company that owns The Late Show and canceled it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Jon Stewart. But he, like I said, an 11-minute profanity-filled rant. Also in the crowd for a show of support during last night's episode of Stephen Colbert, Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper also spotted together on the Kiss Cam, and then fellow late night hosts Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers. Now they are all the New York-based ones, conveniently. Jimmy Kimmel, who was off last night, he was not there.
Okay.
He's also based out in LA. The jokes on social media, obviously there's tons of them, but one that I saw that kind of stood out to me was that you know that if Jimmy Fallon is taking a stand, then you have people all fired up. You can check it out for yourself. It's over on Colbert's Late Show YouTube page. All right, that's our first reunion. The second one I could not be more excited about because Ted Lasso is back. Season 4 officially in production. Apple CEO Tim Cook made the announcement yesterday, and he posted our first look at the new season. It was a shot of 4 of our main actors hanging out, not in England, in Kansas City. They were hanging out in the booth at a barbecue restaurant, which we know Ted loves. Jason Sudeikis also has ties to Kansas City, which is convenient as well. Now, if you were a fan of the original, I'm going to try not to spoil it, but Ted headed home at the end of it. Meanwhile, some other characters talked about the possibility of wanting to start a women's team.
I can see that. Yeah.
This season will focus on Ted coaching said women's team.
I could definitely see that.
Now, the option for the actors was picked up for 3 years. So we could get another 3-season arc, not just one new season. Most of the main cast is back, including Ted, aka Jason Sudeikis, Rebecca Hannah Waddingham, Juno Temple, who played Keeley, and Roy Kent, aka Brett Goldstein, who was also a writer and co-creator of the show. Jamie Tart will not be back as a series regular. He could still make appearances. No word on when the new season will drop, but the first 3 were a huge hit for Apple TV Plus, and they were also a feel-good hit.
Yeah.
They were feel-good TV. So I'm very excited for this to come back.
Yeah.
I was actually, I like when shows are willing to kind of go out on top and not drag something out. So I like that they had their 3-season arc and they ended it the way that they did. But I also get the sense that these actors love each other and love this role. So they were excited to kind of bring it back and see what they could do.
Okay.
All right. So that is our second reunion. The third reunion is for all my elder millennials out there. We're talking about Dawson's Creek. However, I'm sorry to say that it's not a full Dawson's Creek reunion. Instead, we are talking about Joey and Pacey. You see Joey right there, Katie Holmes. Pacey, aka Joshua Jackson. They are reuniting for 3 movies written and directed by Katie Holmes.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Not 1, not 2, 3
I'm
full
here for
movies.
it, yeah.
She talked all about it with Rolling Stone. They talked about their chemistry. It's been over 20 years since they worked together on this hit show. So this is going to explore relationships kind of changing over time. I kind of got like that Before Sunset and, Ethan Hawke vibes over the kind of the way they describe this movie. So we'll wait and see how that all plays out. But I know a lot of fans of these 2 are excited to see them working together again. And we'll have to, you never know. James Van Der Beek may make a cameo at some point. Michelle Williams. That show really spawned a lot of stars, I'll be honest.
And it was a good show. Gosh.
It was a good show.
I saw you looking at me when you said older millennials, so yeah.
Yeah, that's both of us. I don't want to wait. I'm not going to sing it.
Okay.
We probably don't have the rights. I can't.
Producer Chris with all things sizzling right here in the Live Zone. Surely appreciate you, my friend. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, my next guest really needs no introduction. You see, she's known for her standout role on OWN's hit series Ready to Love and Love and Marriage DC. Now she steps boldly from reality TV to live music stage. Yes, bringing her authentic voice, commanding presence, and electrifying mix of soul, rock, funk, and pop to fans in person. She needs no introduction. You see it right there on your TV screen. I'm talking about the one, the only. Let's give her a round of applause. Yes, Joy Carter joining us right here on the Live Zone. What's up, my friend?
Listen, I am just here, ready, grateful, ready to get this ball rolling.
And you're going to get it rolling in a major way. It's entitled The Love in Reality Tour. First of all, you couldn't have come up with a better name for this thing. I absolutely love it. You were on tour, girl. You done made it. And in this case, you are touring in D.C. as well. Not one, but 2 shows at Blues Alley.
Exactly. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a singer first. So reality TV came after. Music has always been my love and my passion. I've been on the stage longer than I've ever been in a relationship. Well, let's just say the stage is my relationship. And this tour, the stage is my altar. And being able to pull back, some layers and sit there and talk about, so much as far as me. I never really get to talk about me. But I'm doing this through song. I have amazing people who are opening up. I have Eddie Bryan in Philadelphia with me at City Winery on this Saturday. And Blues Alley, I have Art B from Boston who's opening up. So I'm trying to sit here and bring laughter. I'm going to have a little bit of tears, but at the end of the day, it's just an awesome time, a great experience. And, I say one of the best ways to get to know me.
You know what I love? I'm sitting here watching B-roll, and I've watched this time and time again. You are just so comfortable on stage. That can't be the first time you're hearing that. It appears as though you are more at home on stage than you probably are at home.
It's my favorite place to be, honestly. It is my favorite place to be. I have more of a voice on stage. I have to say, I can talk to hundreds of thousands of people, but sometimes one-on-one, I'm not that great at it.
No, join the club. Isn't it hard to do? One of the other things that you are known for doing, and that is you really break down the wall between artists and audience. That is so rare nowadays. I mean, typically you'll have an artist just get up there, do his or her thing, and then peace out, bye, cut the check, it's been real. That's not the case with you. There's an interaction, there's a connection, there's energy with your audience.
Absolutely. Like I said, it is probably the one place that I actually feel the most comfortable. I have met a lot of people just performing, people who still come and support me to this day. It's just a relationship that honestly, I mean, music does what it does. It connects people from, all walks of life, creed, color. Like, it is the most universal form of communication on the planet. And it's something that I'm so grateful that I'm still able to do and, continue to connect with people, not just here in the DMV, but, all over.
Yeah, speaking of connecting, you also do a meet and greet. I got to tell you, that's what you're known for, I would argue. Why? Because yet again, the folks get a chance to meet you, but then isn't it weird when they're telling you your story, meaning they have been following you since day one?
You know what? They could be telling me some real negative stuff, and I have to say that anyone who has approached me has come with nothing but love. I think the funny part is when the husbands come up. When the husband comes up and says, "Oh my God, my wife loves you. I watched the show because of my wife." And any other time, I don't think they probably would have watched the show, but to know that it is connecting not just me and women, but men who watch the show, who watch everyone else's journey on it too. So, yeah, it's nice. I'm glad it's all positive.
Yeah, well, speaking of positive, as we wrap up, there are so many young ladies, and you know what, heck, guys, I'm watching too, and they're watching right now, and they're saying, you know what, I want to grow up and be just like her. I have a dream, and I want to be able to fulfill that dream, yet I'm so many times faced with obstacles and or roadblocks. Some inspiring words, perhaps, you could share with those folks.
At the end of the day, be your authentic self. That is the only thing. Be yourself. The right people will see you. The right people will love and connect with you. Be yourself and always speak your truth.
Absolutely love it. That's why we love you to the end. Yet again, we've been speaking
love
with
you
Joy
too,
Carter. The Love in Reality Tour with the stop right here in D.C., not once but twice. Mark it on your calendar. It all takes place July 30th at Blues Alley, and we don't expect you to show up, but to show up in a major way. Truly appreciate you coming on this show. I absolutely love having you on. You're welcome. We'll chat soon. How cool is that, guys? We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
To go flying, and some great news about flying too. We are very honored to have the guests we're bringing up on stage. And so to start things off, I'd like to introduce our CEO and Chairman of the Board of the Experimental Aircraft Association, Mr. Jack Pelton.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Dick. Welcome to AirVenture. You know, what's very special about AirVenture is it's an opportunity for us to really highlight the importance of general aviation, which some people don't realize in the country how important it is. It provides over $300 billion in economic impact. It provides over 1 million jobs. And it's really a national treasure when you think about some of the other things that general aviation does that we've been highlighting this week, which is humanitarian relief flying, along with medical flights and law enforcement. So it's critically important. This week, we've also been highlighting all the innovation and safety improvements that are going on and the importance of that. But probably one of the best things for that to happen is to have a supportive Secretary of Transportation, along with the FAA, and everybody trying to lock arms and do what's best for the American people, especially when it comes to dealing with safety. I'm very honored that this week, Secretary Sean Duffy elected to come over and find out what this was all about, and he spent a lot of personal time here. He's asked a lot of questions. He's got out and seen a lot of things, and I'm very excited and interested to hear his opinions of what he thinks so far. So thank you. And Sean?
Oh, it's great to be with all of you. I apologize first off. I've come down with a cold. I lost my voice yesterday, but it came back for this great event today. Before we get started, just real quick, how many of you are not from Wisconsin? Raise your hand. Not. So okay, great. So hopefully you've had some spotted cow beer, you've had cheese curds, and you've all experienced our great Wisconsin weather. I would just encourage you to spend more money to help drive our economy in Wisconsin. We'd be grateful for that. Just spend a little bit more. But welcome to our great state. It's wonderful to be back here. I've spent my whole life in Wisconsin, born and raised a little bit further north, up in Hayward, and my congressional district was in Wausau and that northwestern third of the state. So it's good to be back. I just want to tell you all that I think it's fascinating that we have an administration that cares about aviation. Before I took this job, actually when the president gave me this job, he talked about big, beautiful roads and bridges that connect our people. That was the first thing he talked about. But the second thing he talked about in November of last year is he talked about aviation and how we have to make sure we focus on aviation. We upgrade our systems, we make it safer and more innovative. And so to have a president that cares like that about aviation is really helpful to drive the reform that we want to see in this space. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen what we've done with regard to air traffic control. We are going to modernize ATC by the leadership of Sam Graves in the House, who's here. They gave us a historic $12.5 billion to start this upgrade, which is absolutely historic. And we are driving reform to bring online more of our air traffic controllers. You all know we're 3,000 short. We get slowed down, we get delays, we get cancellations. We're grateful for our current controller support, but we need to bring more people into the industry, and we want to ask those who are at the age of retirement to stay on and help us out. So excited about all of that, but I know that's not why you're all here today. We're excited because this administration, as I mentioned, along with the president, has promised to modernize aviation safety and efficiency, and today we're making good on that promise. We just finalized a major reform that's going to make recreational flying safer, more accessible, and far less red tape to tie us up in. And as you all know, that is our mission on Mosaic. And so, that's right. So for too long, our rules have been outdated, holding back our pilots, our builders, and our innovators. It's been over 20 years since this rule has been updated, and by the way, a lot has changed in the last 20 years, and so that's why we're excited to be here today. But in essence, what we're going to do is we're going to remove outdated weight limits on light sport aircraft. We're going to allow properly certified pilots to fly more aircraft, including some aerial work. And this expands what qualifies as light sport, cutting unnecessary regulatory burdens while keeping safety front and center as we go forward with these rules. I couldn't be more grateful to one of my key partners in the FAA, which is Chris Rushlow, who's going to speak after me, but he has been a killer that's probably the wrong word. He's been critical in driving this reform, and now we have Brian Bedford, who is going to be the administrator and also cares about all of this as well. But we want to encourage way more interest in aviation. Sometimes I'm driving around and you see all the airplanes. It's hard to think we can have more interest because of all the interest here, but we should have more interest in aviation. It's also going to allow us more capabilities and benefits to advanced air mobility, the eVTOLs that you're seeing around the air show. That's right. And it's going to enhance safety by ensuring the latest technologies are able to be incorporated into all of your aircrafts. So this is an exciting time. I'm thrilled about the rule. And the one thing I'm going to ask you before I step back is the best ideas do not come from DOT. The best ideas don't come from the FAA. The best ideas come from all of you on how we can do a better job. And I would just tell you all, we have an open door. And if you have great ideas on what we can do differently, what we can do better, that's going to drive innovation and drive safety, we are all ears because I think that's the mission of government. The mission of government should not be to hold back and have so many burdensome rules and regulations that don't allow those innovators to innovate and drive your safety while you're in the air. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Happy to be back in Wisconsin, and I would just make one last pitch that you all spend a little more money than you ever anticipated in Wisconsin to help drive this great economy. Thank you all very much. I'm going to now turn it over to, again, one of the key drivers, one of my best partners is the acting administrator of the FAA, Chris Rushlow.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. And on behalf of the FAA, the entire FAA, thank you so much for your leadership in getting this rule across the finish line. I will tell you all, I've had the great fortune of working with the Secretary now for over 6 months. And as you can tell, the passion, the commitment to aviation in general, but certainly to aviation safety, has been remarkable. I've had the good fortune of working with the FAA off and on for over 25 years, and I've never had a leadership team, particularly Secretary Duffy, like we're experiencing today. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to the FAA team, my team, that has been so hard at work with all of you in getting this rule done. And also, I think it's very important to realize, in addition to the FAA work, we went through over 1,300 comments in our public notice. And so thank you to the industry for contributing to this rule. It really is a great testament to government and industry coming together to put together rules that make sense, rules that lower the bureaucracy and increase safety, because that's what we're all about every day. So, as the Secretary said, Mosaic will expand access to safe, modern, and affordable aircraft for recreation, training, and aerial work, all while upholding the highest safety standards. It brings major updates to light sport aircraft and to sport pilot privileges based on 2 decades of solid safety performance. Now, over the next year, we will phase in this rule, and conduct broad outreach to everyone so they know what's changing and how we will implement that together. General aviation remains the backbone of American aviation, and its safety continues to be our top priority. This spring's General Aviation and Business Aviation Call to Action, hosted by many of the general aviation associations that are here today, was much appreciated and another step in that journey to a safer general aviation community. Now, looking ahead, we're working with industry and international partners as well to safely integrate these new technologies, such as eVTOLs, advanced air mobility, and other types of technologies, safety technologies and avionics that go into the aircraft themselves. Together with global partners such as the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, we're also harmonizing the standards so that the builders of these aircraft can sell those aircraft overseas and, again, maintain that global safety posture. As I like to say, safety is a team sport. It depends on collaboration across the FAA, across industry, and of course, the aviation users themselves. I'm inspired by the collective effort I see here every day at AirVenture, and I see Mosaic as one of those prime examples of what we can do together when we get in that room and work it out. So, together we will continue to keep our skies safe, accessible, and of course, to make sure that we continually prove along our successful paths going forward. So, thank you all. And now, it's my pleasure to recognize Chairman Sam Graves, a true champion for general aviation. When we think about the FAA reauthorization of 2024 and the first ever general aviation section in that bill, in that law, it's because of Chairman Graves and his leadership. So it's my pleasure to introduce him now for a few comments.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my 30th time to Oshkosh, to AirVenture. And I've been coming here a long time, and it's even better when you get to come and having coming on the heels of a great bill that we passed, an FAA reauthorization, and all the good work we did with GA. But I have to commend the President Trump, in his commitment to modernizing our air traffic control system, which was in the big, beautiful bill that we passed, and we did have a down payment in there, as the Secretary mentioned, at $12.5 billion. That's a down payment. It's going to take more money, and we will find them the money that they need to get this done and get it done quickly. But I have never seen a Secretary more committed and more engaged in fixing the problems that we have in aviation, the problems that we see as pilots in aviation. And Secretary Duffy is working, and I look forward to working with him more to implement FAA, the FAA reauthorization and all the provisions in there. But he is completely committed, and that's a great thing. It really is. And the fact that he's here is that's what shows it. That's what shows it. So with Mosaic, I was there when we did the first sport pilot rule. And as was pointed out, as Chris pointed out, we've got almost 2 decades of good, hard data to be able to go back on. So in the FAA reauthorization, we put a deadline for the FAA to get the final rule for Mosaic done within 2 years, and they beat that by 9 months. That's something great. When the FAA gets it done early, that's a good thing, but this is a pattern that's continuing to, we're continuing to see within the FAA, and that's due to the leadership of Secretary Duffy and the leadership of Deputy Administrator Chris Rocheleau. That is a commitment that they have made to aviation, and that's a commitment that we're going to continue to get to see. But Mosaic is going to make, flight sport more accessible and more versatile, and it's going to bring more pilots into the process, which is exactly what we need. But I want to thank them. Thanks, guys, for what you did and for implementing that and doing it. I'm going to turn it back over to Jack.
Real quick, I should have mentioned we all enjoy this great event, and under Jack's leadership, he has built this out in a profound way. And Jack, I know everyone here appreciates your hard work to make this a world-class event, the best in the world right here in Oshkosh. So thank you for your leadership. And just as a note, if you see one of these folks walking around in an FAA shirt, there might have been times in the past where you might have want to boo them. Tell them thank you, because it has been their truly hard work that has been on the forefront of thinking how we can do better to serve all of you, drive innovation, and truly drive safety. So if you see those blue shirts and the FAA logo on them, please say thank you to them, because they're working tirelessly for all of you to get it right. With that, we're happy to take questions. I hope the media is going to have really nice questions for us today, like the weather. We'll see. And I know Chris is going to come up here with me as well. But first off, any questions?
Hey, Secretary Matt from WISA in Milwaukee. I saw you up in the tower yesterday. I'm curious, with the funding, what is the $12 billion going to allow you to do, and what happens if you don't get the additional 19? So
the question is, we have $12.5 billion, which, by the way, Sam Graves gave me all the money he possibly could to get us that $12.5 billion. So number one, we're going to redo telecom, right? Radios, voice switches. Let go from copper to fiber, build a brand new telecom network. We're going to replace our 1950s, 1960s, 1970s radar with that money. We have $2 billion for a brand new center. Where that's going to go, we don't know yet. There's potentially opportunity for consolidations of centers in the country. But if you're thinking about a brand new air traffic control system, it really is the common automation platform. It's the software on how this is going to work. We got a little bit of money, I think $300 million, if I'm not mistaken, to start that process. We're going to try to. I've asked Chris to pull up the FAA cushions in the couch and shake it to find more cash. But that is the part that's going to take us a little bit of time. It's going to take us, whether it's 7-8 months to ask industry to provide us with a product that will work for the American airspace. We have to debug it, so we're probably a year and a half out before that could be deployed. But that truly is the new system that we don't really have an off-the-shelf solution to deploy. And I'll just make one other note. It's been a problem because Congress has given sporadic funding, no doubt, but this is complicated to do. But again, if we can put a man on the moon with technology that's less powerful than your iPhone, we can absolutely update our air traffic control system, and we are going to make that happen. And if it doesn't happen, I can guarantee you, hopefully not on Twitter, but somewhere else, the president will fire me. So I'm going to make sure that happens for sure.
And quickly on training, we visited the site in Joliet recently where they're training folks to become air traffic controllers. Do you have any plan? Is there a concern that the training needs to expand? You need to open more sites, you need to get more people trained? On the back end, how do you solve that?
So we're talking about controllers. Oklahoma City is the heart of training our controllers. There's the opportunity to have more schools stand up and train more controllers. But we have the most controllers in the history of Oklahoma City at our training facility right now than ever in our past. We're going to hit our 2,000 controller threshold this year. We're hoping to get to don't lock me into this. I'm going to shoot for 2,500 next year. Maybe it's going to be 23, 24, but we're going to get more controllers in. I'll just tell you, it was more complicated than you would recognize to actually get rid of the bottlenecks, to get the best young people into the school first, and get them in fast. If it takes 2 years after you apply for the school and you can't get in, you're going to go find some other job. So we've streamlined that process. I've also offered controllers who are at the eligible age for retirement to stay on. Help us out. We're giving them a 20% upfront bonus per year for every year they stay. These are the most experienced controllers. We're in great need. We want to see them stay on with us, help us out during this time. So, and again, you saw. Thank yes. And by the way, if you see the pink shirts around, thank them too. They're doing an awesome job here, and excited to be at Oshkosh. Again, they'll bid to come to this great event. So that's what we're doing. And again, none of these solutions happen overnight. I can't snap my fingers and fix them. The problems have taken decades to create. It's going to take us, months and some years to fix some of these. But if we don't start now, it never gets fixed. And so we are we are fully engaged to make sure that we revitalize and remake our complete system. So you want to talk more about Mosaic?
So today, the rule is live. You can go on the internet right now, and the rule is live. So we're very happy. Again, credit to the Secretary for setting a deadline and driving us, as the Chairman talked about. We beat that requirement in the reauthorization. We're very proud of that. Now, over the next year, we're going to roll that out because it's, having read it twice, it's very long, it's very detailed, and it's going to mean different things for different operators. At the end of the day, though, we're talking about opening up the light sport aircraft category, making it safer based on the data we've already received. So we're very proud of that. And again, we've got some subject matter experts here later on. If you want to engage them, they're very proud of the fantastic work they've done, again, along with industry itself. So again, back to the question, we're going to roll this out over the next year. We're going to be working closely with stakeholders, with the industry, to make sure that we get this, as we roll it out, right, so that we can translate and make sure that the application itself is correct. So again, very proud of our opportunity here to work together to make this category of aircraft safer as we bring in more people to our aviation community.
Just so everybody understands, the most important part of this is it eliminates the weight rule. What it does is it bases it on stall speed, 61 knots, no more than 61 knots stall speed. So what that's going to include is your Cessna 172s, 150, your Cherokees, all the Piper Cherokees out there. It completely overhauls that, and we're going to base it on, that's the most important part of this. And also there's no seat requirement in there anymore. We've done away with all that. It's based on 61 knots stall speed. So that's what everybody wants to know.
Mr. Secretary, welcome to Oshkosh. Can you describe some of the other parameters that are going to be part of the new Mosaic rule? There have been a number of them that have been in contention from parts of the industry, above and beyond stall speed, which of course is critical to many, and good on you for that one. But we'd like to get some more parameters if we could.
So we'll tee these guys up. Before we came out, Chris said, I'm taking all Mosaic questions with Sam Graves. I said, okay, that's fine. So.
Yeah, so I'll start that answer by saying we have the people that wrote that rule that will be helping you implement that rule right here, and you can get them afterwards. But the big things, as the chairman talks about.
All right, folks, there you have it. Folks, all smiles as the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, announcing a new FAA Aviation Safety Initiative. Obviously something folks have been waiting for quite some time, and apparently it has finally come to fruition. Hey guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take us with you any and everywhere you go. On behalf of my producer, Amy, I'm Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for watching. We're back here tomorrow at 12 noon. In the meantime, stick around. The Take coming up next, right here on Fox 5.